The way propagandists will work is they will wait until people are lulled into a state of semi-consciousness, like at the end of a district convention, like within the last 2 minutes, and then they will begin all sorts of different types of mind control techniques, propaganda techniques. In this next part, you're going to see a sweeping generality, unsupported claim, an exaggeration, a stereotype label being attached, loaded language, name-calling, delegitimizing one's opponent, unprovable statements, and an undisprovable statement, applying ridicule or humor as a way to propagandize, repetition for emphasis, unsubstantiated inference or groundless claim, and inflammatory language. Notice what this propaganda says in the last 2 minutes of the 2010 District Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses.
The world, or better said, the people in it, are insanely occupied. They are occupied with business, they are occupied with pleasure, they are occupied with entertainment, they are occupied with their tomato plants. They're just too busy.
All right. You heard the humor in there, right? An attempt to get some laughter. But did you notice that the people in the world, that would be anybody who's not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, is insanely occupied? Do you notice the negativity of that statement? Insanely occupied. You're not just occupied with your tomato plants. You're insanely occupied with your tomato plants. You, who doesn't even have any tomato plants. Did you notice the sweeping generality, the world, or better yet, the people in it? Did you notice the stereotype, the label being applied to people, which is unfounded, it's unprovable, it's undisprovable, yet it sticks in the minds of these people who've been lulled into a state of semi-consciousness after 3 days of this type of propaganda. So after 3 days of this, they hear this. The last thought they hear is that the world that they're about to go back out into, their co-workers, their kids' teachers, everybody, their family members who are not Jehovah's Witnesses, are insanely occupied, or simply, they are insane with mundane pleasures of life. This is how the people in the world are being demonized by Jehovah's Witnesses on a regular basis. They are exaggerating. They're using loaded language when they use the word world, because that automatically creates a whole chain of thinking in the mind of Jehovah's Witnesses hearing that word. It's clearly a stereotype. It delegitimizes the opponent of Jehovah's Witnesses, the opponent, Satan and the world, and it's basically, this type of statement applies ridicule, humor with the tomato plants phrase. It's repetition for emphasis. The world is bad, the world is insanely occupied. Clearly groundless claim, and it's inflammatory. Now, after hearing this, it's pretty clear why the majority of people do not like Jehovah's Witnesses. Nobody likes to be called insane or insanely occupied with things when they know it's not true. But this is how Jehovah's Witness handlers will use propaganda to trick the minds of their members into believing a certain way. Now, if you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses and you are watching this, let me assure you that the people of the world, in general, cannot be categorized into simple phrases like insanely occupied with tomato plants or with their business. I have a business. Okay, I'm not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I am no longer one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now that should, in you, stop your thinking at that point and realize I'm an apostate. You're not even supposed to be watching these videos, but you do. So the point is that I want to make to you is, do you really believe this nonsense, what's being done to your mind? Do you believe this stuff when you go to these district conventions? How can you escape from this? How can you get out? You are trapped in it. They're taking advantage of young children. They're tricking them into believing they should be baptized, which is a contract, which is like signing on the dotted line. Okay, these are overreaching men that are doing this. No women are involved in it, except maybe the child's mother, perhaps, who doesn't really know what she's doing. She doesn't know she's being used by an evil occult group of men who are trapping people in this religion and convincing them to turn over all their assets at a later date. They're using propaganda such as this, okay? Insanely occupied, all right? It's a joke. Now, what I'm doing, I am insanely occupied with setting people free of mind control by pointing this out to you. So make no mistake, that's what's happening here. Ciao.